story that we just got done talking about over at Hippos. So before the healing of the demon-possessed man. So this is what happened on the way. Also, for you to understand the story, it's helpful to understand the context of the writing of the book of Mark. The book of Mark was written by Mark, who was guided by Peter. And it was written in a city that some of us have heard about called Rome. And it was written at the time when there was Peter was going to be dying under Nero's persecution. He didn't know that yet, but he knew that the church was in trouble. And there was a huge question. And we're going to come back to this question when we get to Jerusalem. But the huge question was, who is on the throne? Who is in control? And we need to keep that in mind when we hear this story. And some of us have also gone up to Hippos today. I'm not sure how you're feeling, but I have a feeling that some of us are feeling really worn out. All right? And Jesus had a worn out kind of day. He was teaching, he was healing. You can imagine the kind of effort that took. Suddenly, a furious squall came up, and the waves washed over the boat so that it was almost swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. His disciples woke him and said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Jesus got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." The wind stopped, and it was completely calm. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Why were you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" His disciples were terrified. And they said to one another, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him?" Catch the story. Jesus was exhausted. If you feel tired now, think of what it feels like to teach all day and heal all day and have that energy go out. He was exhausted. So he said, "Let's get on a boat for a nice, quiet, peaceful ride across the lake. We're going to go to the other side. It'll be a little quieter over there. We're going to beat the crowds." I have to believe he saw these other boats come along and he had to be scratching his head. You know, what's going to be there? If you listen carefully, it's almost like they carried him on the boat. They took Jesus along just as he was in the boat. I don't know, I don't want to point out anybody, but if you are feeling super exhausted, like I've got to be carried, you're feeling what Jesus felt. And his insula, his disciples, took him in the boat. And he did what I think some of us might want to do right about now in this stillness. He went in the stern, and he found a cushion, and he fell asleep. Now I want you to sense how deep that sleep was. It was so deep that the storm did not wake him up. And it was crashing, and it was coming over the the bow of the boat, and it was starting to fill the boat with water, and the water didn't wake him up. I've got to believe someone would slosh to the back. It always goes to the back. Right? That's how exhausted he was. I have a hunch he was at his lowest point as far as energy is concerned. And then imagine how the disciples felt. How terrified they must have been, because remember what we're traveling on? This is, in their mind, the abyss. This is the realm of the demonic. This is the uncertain area. This is chaos country, if you would. And then he got, I think they were so terrified, and I want you to remember what they were going to. Sound asleep, and they push him, and they would go like this. Hey, teacher! Don't you care if we drown? We can't walk on water, you know? Don't you care? And I'm not sure how you feel when you get woken up in the morning. I don't know if you're a morning person or an evening person, but I have a hunch that getting woken up rudely like that is not one of our favorite things to have happen. I don't know if you've ever been woken up by a friend, a spouse, in that way and said, "What are you doing bothering me?" You been there? Ah, yes, we have a revelation here. I've been there. But Mark said he simply got up. Stop, wind. Some quiet waves. I have to say, there have been many times some of us have been on a storm. I have a hunch that that's true. I've heard some of the stories. Many times, I'm sure, and again, it's the best way I know how to describe it, we have felt like in our life all hell is breaking loose against us. And we wonder who in the world is in control of our life. Peter was feeling that. Mark was feeling that. The disciples in the boat were feeling that. The devil was at his strongest that day. Jesus was at his weakest. But Jesus at his weakest was stronger than Satan at his strongest. And if we've ever been in one of those moments, and we haven't known what in the world is going on, and who's in control, and why is all this happening, and where is God, where is Jesus, why isn't there calm? Just remember, Jesus is stronger. Jesus is able to help us face whatever we're facing. And we might say, but wait a minute, I'm still going through it. Oh, that's true. We may not have the sea go completely calm, but there's something about a boat. We're on this boat.